And welcome back. Last week, the Morning Blend was preempted due to NBC News coverage of the Kavanaugh hearings.
That's right. Molly and Holley Sinn had the incredible opportunity to chat with a woman and author in town about the true meaning of yoga. Take a look.
Many people do yoga for the physical health benefits, but our next guest used the power of yoga to guide her out of suffering.
Tatiana Forero Puerta had a very tough childhood as an orphaned immigrant. She wrote about her experiences in this memoir, Yoga for the Wounded Heart, a journey, philosophy, and practice of healing emotional pain. We're super excited to have you joining us today. Thank you so much. I started doing yoga a few years ago. A friend encouraged me to do it. Yoga helped her getting through a post-breast cancer diagnosis. And the emotional part of it is the part I find surprising. Is it's just as you get just as much benefit and satisfaction as you do the physical part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's part of my message, is that most people don't realize that yoga is so much more than stretching or strength building. And there's definitely that aspect of it, or that can be there. But the emotional benefits are so great. And I wanted in my book to really share that with people, just how powerful the practice can be.
And you get very vulnerable in your book, talking a lot about your personal journey. And what brought you to yoga? What made you think, okay, this might be the thing that can help me reconcile my past?
Yeah, well, I didn't know that it was what it was. And it was actually after a hospitalization that I was having heart problems, and a cardiologist said, you know, how is your life going? And at that point, it wasn't going so well. And she said, you know, do yoga. Have you practiced yoga? And I said, you know, well, I've done classes here and there. She says, no, have you practiced? I said, I'm not sure I know what that means. She said, your homework is to go do yoga for 30 days every single day. And that was what really changed my life.
Good for that cardiologist.
Absolutely.
I
You don't
agree.
hear that from
No.
a Western medicine doctor very often. So that is fascinating.
Right.
In and of itself.
Right, and you know, about 15 years ago too. So I mean, really an angel.
Yeah.
Yeah. What happened in your childhood? You were an immigrant and you were orphaned at some point in your life?
Yes, both of my parents passed away. My dad passed first when I was 8, and then my mother passed when I was 14. And my sister and I were sort of left up to the foster care system, not quite in our own country, which resulted from jumping from home to home. And sometimes, and that's another sort of reality that I bring, is that sometimes a lot of these homes are not particularly safe for children. And my sister and I experienced that. When I moved out, I thought, well, you know, that's in the past, and I'm going to just very sort of headstrong, I'm going to move forward. But it turns out that it doesn't quite work that way, that our psyches aren't really meant to not deal with our wounds. And so I moved to New York City to pursue graduate work in philosophy. And everything sort of came crashing down on me, and it was, this is it. I had no choice but to face it. And it was my practice that helped me heal.
Talk quickly about this, making yoga into something else, because you talk a lot about how yoga is not just warrior one and down dog and things people associate it with, that it can be painting, it can be something, some other creative pursuit, and for you it's being a mother. Right?
Right, that's my newest yoga.
So how does that philosophy pertain to those particular types of exercises, if you will?
Right, and so in my book I take a little bit of an academic approach, and I really, having a background in philosophy, I take a look at what is the etymology of yoga? What does this word really actually mean? And it turns out that if you look at the etymology in the Sanskrit, it means to yoke and to bind. And so the idea is that these practices are practices that unite us, but not so much in the sense of we have to go out there and do something, but rather the practice of yoga is a practice that allows us to recognize that we're always already united. The experience of that now is commonly referred to in positive psychology as the experience of flow. In other words, being here now and having that moment of when you hold your child, or when you're with your beloved, looking them in the eyes, and there's nothing, the whole world sort of fades. And we can get to those places with playing instruments, with playing sports, with anything that really allows our focus to come into one-pointedness. And through that, and doing that over and over again, we get clear about what matters to us, we become better people, we become more full of joy, and so that's the real yoga. It just so happens that when we move in particular ways, focusing on our breath, focusing on where's our attention at any given moment, that experience tends to arise pretty easily. And so that's why I think yoga is so freeing for many people.
That's a wonderful explanation. That's fantastic. Your book is great too, and I know that people can find it. It can be ordered on Amazon. You can also go to this website. Tatiana's website is yogaforthewoundedheart.com, and again, it's Yoga for the Wounded Heart, a journey, philosophy, and practice of healing emotional pain. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.